I'll get into it more, but we don't mitigate against that. We don't, John Terry, he had problems towards the end of his career playing a high line. Chelsea guarded against that. David Luiz will get exposed. When you've got a centre half who is very naive and a walking fire hazard like David Luiz, declining and exposing, and a system that has been improving but don't really factor in these things, it's a recipe for disaster. You know what? We might as well crack on with David Luiz, people, really and truly. We might as well crack on with David Luiz now that I've mentioned it. Yeah. So you said he should be offered a coaching role at most. For me personally, my guy, I just think it's too much Disney Channel. It's too much romance in this thing at Arsenal. Like, don't get it twisted. I have a lot of admiration for David Luiz. I think he gets a bad rep. Like I was saying earlier, I think there's no in between when speaking about David Luiz. You either bare romantic because of what's happening in recent weeks. You've either just written him off already for whatever reason. My thoughts on David Luiz, I think he's been a better signing than I thought. Like, I was dead against the signing of David Luiz. He's been a better signing than I thought. I think he has showed leadership qualities. I think he has had good games. The problem is, you get what you pay for. And we've been knowing who David Luiz was at Chelsea and other clubs, and we know what we get now. For every good game he's got, the statistics and the examples are there for points dropped. At times he charges out of defense. Yes, he got a red card, unfortunately, against Wolves, but fundamentally, 30 seconds before the end of that first half, he's out of position. When you add mistakes happen, players make mistakes, but some make them more than others. When you've got David Luiz making 4, 5, 6, 7 mistakes a season, then you've had previously Mustafi, and historically, Leno's a bad boy keeper, but Leno has a mistake in him. Bellerin has a mistake in him. Xhaka has a mistake in him. Bearman got mistakes in them, and sometimes the better players make mistakes as well. We've got too many of these guys, and David Luiz is that. David Luiz is a form man. As much as I like David Luiz and I have admiration for him, I don't know what I'm getting. Am I getting that David Luiz against United? Am I getting the David Luiz yesterday where there was some shaky moments, but generally a quality player? Or am I getting the one against Southampton? Or am I getting the one like I just gave with the Wolves example? I don't know what I'm getting. And a 33-year-old, I shouldn't be talking about that. That's not that should not even a 13-year-old footballer, you can say that. We wouldn't be in the academy and them things. So while I have admiration for David Luiz, he is a leader. He stands up to be counted. One thing I like about David Luiz, to be fair with you, he owns up to his mistakes. He never runs away. You hear he's good for the young players. And some of the Arsenal young players I've spoken to said, yo, David Luiz is a good guy around the team and stuff like that. So I get it. So yeah, like I said, experience, it does help the young players, and you can never discount that. He could be that bridge player that could allow Saliba and even Gabriel to a degree to learn. Because let's remember, Gabriel is still very raw. Maybe if Gabriel gets a bit mature, then there's less of a need for David Luiz. Or if Holding takes more of that. Because if we look at it, David Luiz makes mistakes, but as much as I rate Holding, he switches off. Gabriel's problem is probably diving in too much and a bit raw like that. Holding's biggest error for me, sometimes he don't sniff danger, especially runners. David Luiz kind of does those things quite well. He's just a hazard. So yeah, these are the reasons. But for me, I don't even buy that. Listen, I look at the reasons for no, and this is on a non-biased thing. We don't take, like I was saying earlier, we don't tailor our way of playing to older players like with Gabriel, like with Aubameyang. He scored a hat-trick, but are we factoring in how he's getting older and how we can tailor our game to get the best out of him? We don't do that. So for me, on top of, we claim to be a young team and needing all of these sort of things, but you'd have, and he's an exception, but you'd have Aubameyang, you'd have David Luiz in the middle of your defense, and you'd have Willian. This doesn't scream longevity. This isn't making sense to me. We don't tailor our game to young players. He doesn't fit in with this philosophy. We play a very high line, a ball playing high line. So if we don't tailor, if he's defensively naive already, if we don't tailor our game to him, if he's declining physically, you can see how the problems are gonna thingy. For me, ultimately, 33 turning 34 is still not consistently good. That's purely footballing reasons, It's wasting wages. Again, he might take a wage cut. I don't know how much David Luiz has, but it's wasting wages. It's wasting a spot that could go elsewhere. Could you get somebody else who is older than what we have, more so Pablo Mari's age, who can do David Luiz's job, And for me, all the reasons for giving David Luiz a new deal, it's a bunch of reasons other than being a good enough centre half, I hear what people are saying about good for the young players, a voice, a leader, all of this sort of thing. But that don't make no sense if you're not doing it on the football field. And also, didn't we hear he kind of at times undermined Arteta's authority? So if Arteta wants to keep him, it means that's invalid. But if that is true, you can see how it makes no sense. You'd imagine surely he features in a marginalized role next year. Like I said, if you bring in this new centre half with Gabriel or Holding and Gabriel or Marie and the many combinations, you'd expect David Luiz to just be a, someone for the young players, a voice in the changing rooms, a voice in the dressing room, play a proper marginalized role, do up Europa League in the cups, in the group stages, assuming we're there. Maybe FA Cup, League Cup could all be him as well. But Arsenal don't do that. You remember with Koscielny, we overplayed a 34-year-old Koscielny, and I don't want to rely on him. I just think, I looked at it on a non-biased thing because I actually want to keep David Luiz, for some weird reason. I like him. He's a madman, but I like him. But when I look at it without emotion, there's too many reasons to say no. Like, it's wasting wages, it's wasting a spot. There's no consistency there. Good voice and good in the dressing room. Really and truly, if we didn't have such a problem in terms of leadership and all of these things, would it being a good voice and good in the dressing room be valid? Because I would say yes, but I could argue no. If everybody's a leader, it is what it is, and he's hardly the manager. If David Luiz wants to go into coaching and this is the bridge to get him in, fair play. Experience, and he helps with young players. That's true, but there's a wealth of experience around the team. And to be fair, these young players are learning from their own experiences. They're setting it. You can always learn from anyone, but it won't make sense, people. It does not make sense for me to give David Luiz a new deal. But what do I know? David Luiz signs, of course, I'll support the thing. And all of these sort of things, people. Leadership skills. For me, again, I always find the leadership skills one a bit mad, because everybody should be a leader in this team. In the same way, one manager can't consistently make the team winners and remind them. How can one man be a leader? Really and truly, Aubameyang's a leader. Partey's a leader. Tierney leads. Saka and Smith Rowe are leaders. Again, I think Marie's leads when he's involved. Very vocal. Even Hector Bellerin, I might not rate it, but Hector Bellerin. So I think even the leadership one, I don't think we're as strong mentally as we should be, but it's not like they're kids. I don't think the leadership one is valid, really. As you lot can see, Arteta's impressed with him, and it's just a bit, it just screams a bit sentimental. It's too much sentiment. As you lot can see here, courtesy of the Daily Mail, people, Arsenal are set to offer experienced defender David Luiz another 1-year extension. He's in his second year with Arsenal. As you lot can see, his current deal runs out in June. The 33-year-old has had a so-so season, people. As you lot can see here, somewhat erratic and makes costly mistakes, and that's it. David Luiz will be certified for 10 games. 2 games he'll make errors that cost you points. When you look back in May and David Luiz has done that, Jacques has done this, Ceballos that, and I'm just saying random examples because historically all these players make mistakes. We have to get rid of the error-prone players. We can talk about VAR and things like that, but how many times have we lost games where we shouldn't have lost, or we've had to draw where we shouldn't have drawn, or we haven't started in the way? It's not just Luiz, it's just silly individual mistakes. And again, there'll be a lot of question marks. Big up Mavropanos, he's having a decent loan spell over in Germany. It remains to be seen if Arteta's going to give him a chance. I'm not too sure, because you'd have Saliba, you'd have Gabriel, who are more experienced but defined as young centre halves. I don't know if we are going to be able to afford game time to William Saliba, Gabriel, and Mavropanos, and Holding, and David Luiz, and all of these sort of things. I do think, you could see Mavropanos head out on loan, maybe to a Premier League. If the right offer comes, maybe even permanently. I think Chambers won't be here next season. Holding has forced his way into plans. So and it just, for me, it further muddles up the team, really. So I don't think there's a case to give him a 1-year extension, because he's not doing it on the football field consistently, And we've already seen, allegedly, to play devil's advocate, we've seen what new contracts can do for certain star players. So imagine when you've got players who